aspect that none of us have attended one of these before, but more importantly, if there are any members of the public, the proceedings will take place live on the internet. The meeting will be recorded for future viewing. It will assist the conduct of business if participants speak when invited. All participants should mute their microphones and then turn off their video feed when they are not speaking. Members of the public are welcome to view the proceedings but should not make contributions at this meeting unless invited to do so. Please remember to unmute the microphone and switch on your video feed when it's your turn to speak, and please speak clearly and slowly into your microphone. Anyone wishing to speak should indicate using the raise your hand button, and I'll invite people to speak at the appropriate time. The raise your hand icon should also be used for assent should voting be required. I ask for everyone's patience with the use of this technology, and I apologise in advance if we experience any unforeseen difficulties, which we'll try to resolve expediently. Agenda item 2 is apologies for absence. I already have Laura Taylor. Are there any more?
Councillor Barnett as well.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Councillor Barnett.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Manjit.
And Councillor, sorry, Chair, Councillor Ahmed and Councillor Zada.
Okay, thank you, Judy. Thank you for that. Number 3, to report any changes in representation of opposition group members. To be honest, Steve and Manjit, I think long ago both groups in their periods in opposition have more or less, it's been really a free-for-all. We've just sent our whole shadow from bench to meeting. So I think this is a really quite a duff part of the meeting, to be honest.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct, Leader. We are taking it off the next from future agendas.
Okay, thank you. To receive any declarations of interest under the members' code of conduct, Councillor Shaukat Ali. Shaukat.
Yeah. Evening. Thank you, Leader. Just to declare personal interest because of my involvement as a non-exec at Black Country Healthcare NHS Trust.
Thank you, Shaukat. And I think I saw Steve Clark's hand.
No, sorry, Leader, that wasn't my hand.
Okay, thank you. Okay then, moving on. To confirm and sign the minutes of the meeting held on the 29th of October 2020 as a correct record. Agreed. Okay, thank you. And then the main, obviously, big agenda item tonight is agenda item 6, scrutiny review of the council and partner response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Before I ask members to contribute to this, I would imagine that most members, if not all of us, have read this report several times. Can I please place on record my thanks to the chair of that scrutiny committee, Councillor Tyler, and his deputy, and indeed all members of that scrutiny committee. Over the years, we've had some really good examples of scrutiny. I think this counts up there again as an excellent example of how scrutiny should be carried out. There's always opportunity in times of a crisis for members to wreak havoc with political games. There's none of that evident in this report. It's played straight down the middle. Good contributions from members from all sides. It's clear that the scrutiny committee went into great detail, not just on what the role of this authority was and its different departments, but also with our partner organisations and outside bodies. And I think it is an excellent piece of scrutiny, and I really do commend the committee and its chair and vice chair for what they've done. So, Dave, well done on this. I think it's some good things in here. I do have some questions, if not for the chair of the committee, but certainly for the officers involved. But I think unless Nick Barlow, as the cabinet member, wants to come in and offer anything, and then maybe a short contribution from the chair of the scrutiny committee, who's been good enough to join us tonight. I think once those pair have contributed and sort of done the introductions, then I think we'll open it up for debate from members. I'm happy to accept, and if the cabinet are, all the recommendations in there. As I said, I think it's a great piece of scrutiny, and I think we really ought to do more of this in the future. So, Nick, if you want to come in, and then I think David.
Thank you, Leader. I think you've really covered everything. This is down to Dave to comment on. This has been led extremely well by Dave. It's probably one of the best scrutiny sessions I've seen and been involved with, and this has been a cross-party approach. There's been some excellent debating going on and really analysing not just the council but our partners' involvement in this, and it's been truly exceptional. So I'm going to shut up, and apart from just to conclude by saying, Dave, I wish a few people would tell me to shut up a bit more often, but this is down to Dave, who has chaired scrutiny, first class chair on this. And to think, Dave, that, if you'd have escaped as you should have done back in May, you would not have been involved with this, so well done for hanging in there and doing a great job. So I'm going to hand over to you, Dave.
David?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Nick. It was a massive team effort. I mean, when I found out in February that I wasn't going to be allowed to escape, and then I found out that I was still going to be chair of this committee. As a courtesy, I asked both group leaders what they thought about starting an urgent review of our COVID response to include all our partners as well. Within 10 minutes, I have to say, both leaders had emailed back to say, yes, carry on. What do you want us to do? It's clear that we're in unprecedented times as a nation, and particularly in Dudley. But it's important that we park politics at the door when we do scrutiny. And I think the group of councillors we've had on the committee have really stepped up to the mark and done a really good job. I have to say we've been supported by some outstanding staff. I've got to pay credit to Steve Griffiths and Helen Shepherd, our clerk, who've been absolutely outstanding. But our two health professionals within the borough, Balcour and Matt Bowsher, have been a constant source of support and supply of really important information. Our partners, I have to say as well, have bought into this lock, stock and barrel. And it's proved once and for all that if you've got something like this, you can't do it on your own. I hope that the format we've set today and the work we've done leads us into an even stronger working relationship with our health partners and business partners for years to come. So thank you to all the scrutiny committee, and over to you, Chair.
Thank you, David. And again, thank you for the way you've conducted the proceedings. Absolutely first-rate example of scrutiny. And I'm sure I read somewhere that the work this committee has undertaken may be up for an award, and if so, richly deserved. Right, shouldn't be a very long meeting tonight, and I do apologise for disrupting members, opposition members and cabinet members their usual Monday evening. But we had to try and squeeze this in order for this to go to full council this time next week. Is there any contributions from either the cabinet or the shadow cabinet at this point? I'm not. Okay. Oh, I did see one, and then it's gone. In fairness, I think Councillor Ali's having problems with his buttons because it's on and off. And then I saw Pete Lowe. If Councillor Ali wants to come in first, and then Peter.
Yeah, Chair, thank you. I think some problems with my Wi-Fi today for some reason. I just wanted to extend my thanks to the committee for all the work they've done, and obviously this was about looking into what has worked well, what hasn't, what the gaps are, and how we can learn from that. So I just want to extend my thanks to the committee and all the members involved. Thank you, Chair.
I think here. Okay, Pete Lowe, and then I think Councillor Foster.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Exactly the same as I think everybody has shared. I mean, commend the report. Just one observation, if I may, Leader, is paragraph 131, and it's just to draw our attention, just to make sure we don't lose sight of the importance of making sure that the appropriate support is given to the voluntary sector that are obviously at significant risk, as well as the other areas. So just really drawing highlight to that area, and to make sure, again, on a cross-party basis, that we can do all that we can in order to support, because what we do need is to ensure that we've got a vibrant voluntary sector post-COVID, who are probably particularly at a significant risk during these difficult times. Thank you, Leader.
Yeah, that was on my list of queries to ask, Councillor Lowe, so well done for highlighting that. I think I've got Councillor Foster next, and then Councillor Baton.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question was on page 157, actually, and this might be one for the lead member to respond to, but it's about social workers. We know, don't we, and certainly since I've been on the council, there's been real challenges in recruiting and retaining social workers. This particular comment that was discussed at the scrutiny committee, it hasn't made it specifically to the recommendations, but I'm just wondering, it says the acting director of children's services undertook to consider and address this point. I'm just wondering what that will look like, given that, you know, over the years the council has tried to wrestle with this issue and is still continuing to have challenges. Thank you.
Ruth, you want to answer that directly, please?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Thank you, Leader. Yeah, as you can see, the SEND vacancies are now all filled. We've actually now appointed a new DCS, the ADs are permanent, and that's filtering through the whole team. So we do have many more permanent staff now within the team. Also, our agency rate has gone from over 50% to 14%, because a lot of agency staff have become permanent staff, which is really good, because that also speaks volumes of the fact that they're enjoying working for Dudley, and they're choosing not to go elsewhere where they might actually earn more money. They're staying in Dudley, so that's a really positive thing. Also, obviously, Successor went live last week, which will have a huge positive impact on children's services. And then Corbin Road opened last Wednesday. So that again will give support to staff as well, because we all know you need those sometimes coffee break conversations to go through things, or things you're not sure about. Think, actually, I just need to speak to somebody. And although they've worked amazingly well virtually and in very difficult circumstances, I think going back to what Pete said around the mental health of our staff and the CVS, you know, that being all together would be brilliant. We've also kept the 5 family centres open as well, so that again is beneficial for the whole community. And going back to the CVS, I have to commend them for their support in October half term when we set up the COVID helpline, and then that sort of went down for a week, where with adults and the CVS we've sort of expanded it and relaunched it, and that will run continuously now, and that is with the support of our family centres and the Dudley CVS as well. So I'd like to place on record my thanks to the staff in the children's team and CVS for helping us through this time. Thank you, Leader.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. Thank you, Judy. Councillor Kath Baton.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I mean, it certainly was a good piece of work, long and hard, and there was a huge amount of information to work through. The reports were extremely comprehensive, and I think given the amount of work that officers were undertaking additionally at that time, you know, I think we have to thank them for the amount of effort they put into it. But never want to rest on my laurels. My comment really is around the future and where we move to now with that scrutiny process. So I think the recommendations were quite comprehensive in terms of breaking them down into local, regional and national ones. But I think moving forward, and you commented yourself at the start about the need to continue to undertake this type of scrutiny. And I think there is definitely a role to perhaps consider some of the big ticket items as we move forward. So things like the recovery plan, lessons learned and preparedness for the future. And when I say future, I'm not talking about further waves of COVID, but any further disasters or pandemics that might hit us as a region. So that's really where I'd just like some consideration given to that, really, Leader.
Okay, excellent point made there, Catherine. No, thank you for that. I don't see any other hands. Just for my, sorry, Councillor Dave Tyler.
Thank you, Leader. I'm glad Kathy's raised that. We had spoken about this on a number of occasions, Chair, about where do we go next. But it's not just about the resilience of, and I'll come back to the point on DCVS. It's not just DCVS, it's all of the smaller local charity sector. The third sector has been absolutely crucial to helping us through this. And I think one of the recommendations is that we reassess our relationship, look at reassessing our working relationship with all of the third sector, because without them, we would have been really struggling. And as far as the future is concerned, this is just a snapshot in time, this COVID scrutiny process, because all of the data you've got relates to the data it was presented on at the committees. Now, all of that data will have moved on from that point. And what will be happening now is the officers we're working to update that data going on ad infinitum. But we need to keep this scrutiny process going until we've seen the back end of COVID. And just on that point, the recovery plan that Kathy Baton said, I think there's now a time that we need to start thinking, even at this early stage, like we did with the COVID recovery scrutiny, we need to start thinking in terms of how we're going to not drag, but embrace the community and embrace the business community and get them out of these doldrums that we're in at the moment. I think we need to reinvent the wheel a little bit here and have like something like a business task force made up of the great and good, but not the usual great and good. We need some drivers in there. Just a thought. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for that contribution, Dave. Much appreciated. Yeah, I did see Pete Lowe put his hand up, but that might have been a legacy hand, Pete.
See hand, Leader. Sorry about that.
Okay, cheers. Okay, if there's no other hands, for me, again, great bit of scrutiny. Again, some issues I picked out from here was the one when we were, I think the whole country was struggling with trying to get sufficient PPE. Thankfully, we didn't run out in Dudley, and thanks to, and it's brought out in the report what the procurement department did, but it's brought out in the report, and in the end we ended up providing quite a bit of PPE to academy schools and private care homes, where in reality they should have bought their own, but because of the situation we faced and our population faced, we were happy to provide PPE to outside organisations, not just our own. So that's worked well. I share Pete Lowe's concerns about the voluntary sector. Clearly, we couldn't have done everything we've done, and we couldn't have had business as usual with a lot of the council directorates doing the day job, the normal things that we take for granted, like street cleansing, emptying the bins, maintaining parks and open spaces, that sort of thing, all carried on at a time when we expected them to be cut back because of increasing staff absent levels, but that absent level didn't occur, so we were able to continue. But we couldn't have done all that without the involvement of the voluntary sector, and I think at some time we need to acknowledge that and remember that when we discuss future budgets. My other one is on the 107 recommendations, which really is that the Director of Adult Social Care update the committee at some point on developments regarding the directive to identify care homes to take COVID-19 positive patients, for us to keep on top of that and for members to be informed and kept up to date. That would be good. And the last one for me is the 168 recommendation on free school meals. I think we'd already made a commitment as an administration to continue that through Christmas and indeed next springtime. And obviously we can keep reviewing that as we go on and on. But happy to accept all those recommendations. If there are no other people wanting to contribute, is it colleagues wish that we accept the recommendations?
Aye.
Yeah, just one I'll do. Unless there's. Was that a yes, Ian, or were you raising a hand?
A yes.
Okay, cheers, thank you. Okay, then that's passed. That can now go to full council this time next week. So thank you, colleagues. Moving on to agenda item 7, to report any issues arising from scrutiny committees, not least the one we just discussed.
Nothing further, Leader.
Okay, thank you. And number 8, to consider any questions from members to the leader where 2 clear days notice has been given to the monitoring officer as Cabinet Procedure Rule 2.5.
And there are none again.
Okay, well, thank you, colleagues. Thank you for attending tonight. Again, final comments, great piece of scrutiny, and well done to all. And from me, a big thank you to all members who took part, and indeed to our officers who have had a tough time of it, particularly the directors, their chief officers, and the teams that work for them. The commitment and dedication to this borough is absolutely borne out in this report. And, we owe you a huge debt of gratitude. So on behalf of the council, thank you. And good evening, and enjoy the rest of tonight. Thank you, colleagues.
Thanks, Pat.